raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
Rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
They're getting the dirt bags off these trees.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hand on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our history was known, with pride in the rules that made us our own. There was a time, respect for the brave, for those who bled, for the lives they gave. Now the homeland burns in silent war. Truth is twisted, we can't ignore. Voice still calls, we the people will not fall. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone, patriots rise. We are one, land of the free, home of the brave. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time when truth was clear, when the media served, not ruled by fear. There was a time when leaders stood fast, guarding the people, defending the past. Now corruption wears a crown, lies are fed to tear us down. But Q said watch, and Q said see. The silent war will set us free. From the front lines, soldiers stare, wondering if we're still there. Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a last prize. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, the veil undone, patriots rise. We are one, land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. There was a time, the time is near, the great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone, patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave, no more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time, there was a time, now is the time. Do it.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. Welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. Hope everybody out there is doing well and had a great Turkey Day weekend, a Thanksgiving weekend, and getting right back into it, starting with December 1st. And man, woo, can't make this shit up, right? Late start to the show today. I had both of my kids are wrestling this year. And so they had their first meet. They did good. They both lost, but it was okay. I mean, they did well. And it's my son's second year, my daughter's first year. So it was a good match for them. So glad to go out there and support my children with their sports activities. And now we're going to jump into what's happening in the world, man. And I'm kind of quasi freezing my ass off. It's Minnesota, so it's like 15 degrees outside. I have a studio in my garage, and it's not very well insulated. So I came in here, and it was like probably 15 degrees. So I got the propane heater. I brought it in, let that crank for a little while, got up like 90 degrees, pulled that out because it's just too loud. And now I got my space heater. And it's okay. It's about 50 or 60 degrees in here. But you'll know when the coldness starts to creep in because I'll be rushing things. But coming off of Thanksgiving weekend, there's a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of things happening. I've done a few different shows. I mean, geez, I was with Jaco and Alpha, then me and Alpha last night on Q After Hours. And so been doing a lot of shows lately, and I'm glad because this information needs to get out there. People need to see what's really happening. We got to understand that there is the ultimate game of chess happening right now throughout the world. And this is for the power that comes because of something that is occurring, a technological revolution, a great awakening that is occurring. And so everything that we are watching happening is all about just really one big thing, and that's resource allocation. Who's going to control the resources, and whoever controls the resources, therefore, is going to control the technological evolution over the course of the next 5 to 20 years. And whoever leads that technological revolution, well, they are going to be the forefront leaders, the hyperpower into the for the world as we move forth into this great awakening. And this can go either way. I mean, me and Alpha talked about it last night that, General Flynn. So we did an interview with General Flynn the other day, and he started right off the bat. There is no plan. And, this is hard for, I think, a lot of us to understand. Now, do I believe like generalized statements? There's a plan and it's going right on key? No, absolutely not. We know that. It's moves and counter moves. We've watched this unfold for the last 5 years. That's why we have this audience here in this show. They understand that this plan is very, very dynamic, that we have a plan. We have an idea. We have America First. We have the MAGA, Make America Great Again. We know that we have a plan to go out there and indict Obama for his criminality, to bring the justice to all the co-collaborators in FISA-gate and Spygate and Russia, and the stolen 2020 election and J6. That's part of the plan. And we know military is one of the key components in this, military intelligence specifically. And we know how all of this played into it. But in the context that everybody has a plan till you get punched in the nose. right? Mike Tyson right there. And I think that 2020 was the big punch in the nose. This is something that we've gone back and forth on, whether 2020 was a setup of the globalists and the deep state, or whether 2020 was really a punch in the nose to the patriots. I'm more in line after talking to General Flynn privately and on the show that 2020 was a punch in the face towards Trump and the Patriots, and that we had to recoup and figure out what was going on and what went wrong, and then move to that point to where we are today. And even today, there are deep state actors that are hidden within the Trump administration that are causing chaos, that are withholding information from Donald Trump, that are impeding other people from doing their jobs. And so we have to work as patriots, as citizens, as the stone, the part of the keystone. We are the stone. We are the rock, the bedrock of the United States of America. We got to work to allow Donald Trump to hear our voice, to know that, hey, look, we want Susie Wiles fired. We want John Ratcliffe fired. We want Pam Bondi removed if she is not going to move her ass, or if it's Susie Wiles that is impeding Pam Bondi from doing her job, well, then Pam Bondi's got to go. Or sorry, that Susie Wiles has got to go. And we talked about this last Sunday, not this last Sunday, the Sunday before that. And something really interesting happened. We were talking about this on the show on Q After Hours, and we went through probably a whole 45 minutes on Susie Wiles, on she needs to go. And the next day, Paul Sperry on X reported that the Trump administration is deciding whether to remove Susie Wiles from chief of staff and replace her at the beginning of next year. And crickets from the White House, crickets from Trump's administration, crickets from everybody. Nobody said a word. But the next day, a rumor came about that Kash Patel was going to get fired. Carolyn Levitt immediately, nope, this is fake news. This is BS. Donald Trump took a picture with Kash Patel right after they heard this news and said, nope, he's doing a great job. Donald Trump gave an interview, said he was doing a great job, but they didn't say anything about Susie, which makes me think that Susie Wiles is heading out the door. So very interesting times that we are in right now. We know there are gatekeepers to Donald Trump that are impeding him from doing what is truly necessary to save this country. And when I say save this country, I mean that there is a vision for America of what we can be. But in order for that to happen, we have to get rid of the criminality. We have to get rid of the corruption. We have to get rid of the multinational corporations, the foreign interests that control our politicians. And that only happens with you and me. That only happens when the stone merges with the key, when we rise up and demand that our government does it. I've said this multiple times, that we can cancel Budweiser, we can cancel Cracker Barrel, we can cancel, Target over satanic apparel. So let's cancel Congress. Let's cancel the Senate. Let's cancel Susie Wiles, because we have that power and authority. But see, the other part of this is that there is a massive psychological warfare operation going on our feeds right now, whether it's Facebook, whether it's X, Instagram, it doesn't matter where you are. There's a psychological warfare campaign going on right now to distract you, to confuse you. Remember, we talked about the Alice in Wonderland technique that L. Ron Hubbard developed, the CIA later adapted. And it's all about confusing you and then giving you an anchor of truth. And what happens is you get all of these confusing, contradicting posts that come about, all these various different narratives from people that you thought were MAGA, or people that you thought were America First. And then all of a sudden there is a truth that comes out, or something that is perceived as being truth, that Donald Trump is compromised, or Donald Trump is a pawn of Israel, or something of this nature. And people latch onto that. And this is how the psychological warfare begins to divide us as a movement. And see, that's the one thing that we have to be warned about. That's the one thing that we have to continuously keep our mind open towards and have our filters up against, have our defenses up against. This last weekend, Donald Trump put out a Truth Social post, and I'm going to go ahead and read it for you because I think it's an absolute banger. This is what I voted for, and I think that this is what you voted for as well. And by the way, the show tonight is called Watching the Water. We're going to get into that, what that means, watching the water, and why that is so important, because all of this stuff is intercorrelated together directly. So a very happy Thanksgiving salutation to all of our great American citizens and patriots. Notice he says great American citizens and patriots who have been so nice in allowing our country to be divided, disrupted, carved up, murdered, beaten, mugged, and laughed at, along with certain other foolish countries throughout the world. We're being politically correct and just plain stupid when it comes to immigration. The official United States foreign population stands at 53 million people census, most of which are on welfare from failed nations or from prisons, mental institutions, gangs, or drug cartels. They and their children are supported through massive payments from patriotic American citizens who, because of their beautiful hearts, do not want to openly complain or cause trouble in any way, shape, or form. Now, heed that part right there. Who do not want to openly complain or cause trouble in any way, shape, or form. This is what I'm talking about. He's given us the call to action. Hey, you need to speak up. All right. They put up with what has happened to our country, but it's eating them alive to do so. A migrant earning $30,000 with a green card will get roughly $50,000 in yearly benefits for their family. The real migrant population is much higher. The refugee burden is leading the cause of social dysfunction in America, something that did not exist after World War II. Failed schools, high crime, urban decay, overcrowded hospitals, housing shortages, and large deficits, etc. As an example, hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey as our wonderful people stay locked in their apartments and houses, hoping against hope that they will be left alone. The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing, either through fear, incompetence, or both. Well, the worst congressman woman in our country, Ilham Omar, always wrapped in her swaddling hijab, and who probably came into the USA illegally, in that you are not allowed to marry your brother, does nothing but hatefully complain about our country, its constitution, how badly she is treated, when her place of origin is a decadent, backward, and crime-ridden nation, which is essentially not even a country for a lack of government, military, police, schools, etc. Even as we have progressed technologically, immigration policy has eroded those gains and living conditions for many. I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover, terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe's auto pen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States or is incapable of loving our country. And all federal benefits and subsidiaries to non-citizens of our country, denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, and deport any foreign national who is a public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization. These goals will be pursued with the aim of achieving a major reduction in illegal and disrupted populations, including those admitted through an unauthorized and illegal auto pen approval process. Only reverse migration can fully cure the situation. Other than that, happy Thanksgiving to all, except those that hate, steal, murder, and destroy everything that America stands for. You won't be here long. Wow. This one part right here is just a absolute Moab, mother of all bombs. I'm going to read this part again and understand the implications of what Donald Trump is saying here. Now, is the legality there? Well, we know Ed Martin's been working on the pardons in the auto pen. We're gonna not break it down, but we're gonna logically walk through this. Okay, so I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover. Check. Okay, so no more migration from third world countries. Asylum is shut off. Massive. Terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, as in all of the people that came here under Joe Biden that were given a naturalization. They're going to review every single one of them and start terminating them across the board, including those signed by Sleepy Joe's auto pen. That's huge. You're talking about million, I think 3.5 million people. And remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States or is incapable of loving our country. And all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens of our country. So this means illegal aliens, people who came here and immediately got subsidies, who got government welfare, it's shut off. And here's the key, is the two go hand in hand. If he wants to deport these people back to their country and he's claiming that they came in here illegally, by shutting off their benefits is going to cause mass outrage. It's going to cause them to call up and say, hey, where are my benefits at? And that is the mechanism that they're going to go and begin that review process. These goals will be pursued with the aim of achieving a massive reduction in illegal and disruptive population, including those admitted through the unauthorized and illegal auto pen approval process. Then he says only reverse migration can fully cure the situation. Other than that, happy Thanksgiving. Now, one of the other things that he did is he came out and he stated that he was going to reverse all of Joe Biden's auto pen orders. This is huge. This is executive orders. This is policy. This is admissions. This is general's appointments. This could be anything, including the pardons. So what's the legality of that? This is going to go to the Supreme Court. I guarantee you this will go to the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court will hear the case that Joe Biden was incompetent, that Joe Biden was not in control of the White House. And we'll actually bring that one up. There's two parts that I actually wanted to bring up with that, because I actually had them later in the show, but I think that they're important that we talk about now. Let me see here. Where is it? There's a quick little video. I had a quick little video that I was going to play pertaining to this. Oh, and we'll get into Minnesota. Don't worry, we're going to get into Minnesota. That's going to be some good stuff when we get into Minnesota. Oh, maybe I don't have the video up here. Okay. So Donald Trump also came out and said right here that any document signed by Sleepy Joe Biden with an auto pen, which was approximately 92% of them, is hereby terminated and of no further force or effect. The auto pen is not allowed to be used if approval is not specifically given to the President of the United States. The radical left lunatics circulating Biden around the beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office took the presidency away from him. I'm hereby canceling all executive orders and anything else that was not directly signed by crooked Joe Biden, because the people who operated the auto pen did so illegally. Joe Biden was not involved in the auto pen process, and if he says he was, he will be brought up on charges of perjury. Thank you for your attention to this matter. What Donald Trump is telling you right there is they have the smoking gun evidence. Smoking gun evidence that Joe Biden was not in control of the White House, that somebody else was controlling the White House. And out of those people controlling the White House, that they've admitted either on camera or off camera of what was going on. So the Trump administration right now, the DOJ, they know who was issuing these orders to do this, to sign these executive orders, who was prompting these executive orders, who was putting this grant money out there, USAID, all of this stuff. And it was not Joe Biden. And they have the smoking gun. This is huge. Now, if this goes to the Supreme Court, well, the Supreme Court is most likely going to side with President Donald Trump on all of this, which is just nuts to think about. Oh my God. So that was just a huge part of this last weekend of what we've been seeing. So we're going to go into, we're going to bring Gabe up. So we're going to go into a quick just ad run. It's just Gabe going to come on. We're going to talk about GOODBRU for a minute. And then we're going to jump into Venezuela next, right after this. So make sure that you stay here, buckle your seatbelts, and I'm going to bring Gabe in real quick. Gabe, how we doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing good, Josh. Happy holidays, and yeah, I'm glad to come on. I know we're trying to jump on here real quick and just let everybody know we've got some holiday specials going, and it's a good time to start thinking about your health and your gut health with the New Year's coming. So yeah, how's everything going with you? Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was great, man. How was yours?
It was good. I mean, I'm up here in Colorado. I spent the day hiking, so it was good. It was good, and now they're starting to get a little cold weather. So I'm back and forth between North Carolina and Colorado, but we had all these holiday specials. We did a good show with your buddy on the other station there, and had a lot of sales. He loves the product too, and and so yeah, we're staying busy. Entrepreneurship, small business.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. I mean, you guys are killing it. You guys are on Nino. You're on all these other shows, and so I'm loving that. Jason Q. So
Absolutely.
Glad to hear that Alpha and this show, and you guys are just killing it, and GOODBRU is making a difference in people's lives. And so you guys got something going on this month, right? You guys
Yeah. We got 3 specials. So we got the Christmas special. We have that kind of that traditional buy a large, get a free small. People seem to really like that, and it's a great deal. It's 90 servings. So that's going on right now. Then we have a kind of like what we call the new. It's a special. You can also everybody can use Repill. You can still get your discount. Use Repill for the discount. Get 10% off even with the specials. So we actually have this medium size. We haven't really had. We've done 2 smalls when people have ordered mediums, but we finally got the actual medium size in. It's a really nice container size. It's the same diameter as the large, and it's really nice because it's a nice wide mouth. But then people like the smalls too, because it's good for traveling. And some people will keep their small containers. I'm hearing people telling me they keep the small one even if they order a large, and then they might refill this or whatever. So we have the 2 mediums for a really good discount, and then we have the 3 smalls for a stocking stuffer or for traveling or whatever, at a really good price. So 3 specials, 3 buy a large, get a free small, or get the 2 mediums at a big discount, or get 3 smalls. And we had a lot of reorders, being on these different shows, your show and the other show, and it's the reorders, that tell us that how much people will really like the product, and how much it's helping people. We get great testimonials, and every time we talk to somebody, whether it's from your show or another show, they always talk about how much they appreciate you guys and what you're doing with your programs, and so we're happy to be supporting you as well. So it's great that people will love the product, reorder the product. We can support you, you support us. It's all a win-win. So yeah, get your gut and order. GOODBRU is really simple to use. I mean, I think a lot of people now know what it is, but it's an organic fiber, the type of fiber that Mother Nature has intended for our gut microbiome to feed on. A lot of the fibers on the market are not. They're like dextrins and synthetic fibers. If you buy a lot of probiotics that are on the market in capsule form, they don't have a significant amount of fiber, and you need that fiber. That fiber is what feeds the probiotic. And those probiotics often don't survive very well on the shelf, and they don't survive through the stomach. GOODBRU is what you call a symbiotic. It's the fiber and the probiotic together, because we use a spore-forming probiotic that we naturally would get in nature. So it's a probiotic that is natural, that we would traditionally get from eating the foods from the soil and that sort of thing, that really does a great job of supporting the colonizing microbiome. So it survives as a spore through the stomach acid, but because of that, it also survives well in coffee and hot beverages, and it germinates in the lower intestine, where it can really do the job that it needs to do in helping increase protein utilization by like 20%. There's 25 clinical studies behind this strain of probiotic, improving digestive health, immune function. 70% of your immune health is in your gut. All these things that's linked to all the systemic health issues that all go through, right from dementia to just our regular daily cognition and mood, to inflammatory diseases, and of course the basic digestive health issues that a lot of people suffer from. 50% of people suffer from some sort of just digestive health issue, and many of those people have found benefit from using our product, whether it's with constipation or acid reflux or IBS and things like that. Just always start small. If you've never used the product before, just start with 1 scoop a day, and a lot of people, that's all they ever use is 1 scoop. So I use 2 scoops, and the serving size is based on 2 scoops. So if you're a 1 scooper, you get a lot of mileage out of 1 container. So, but if you use 2 scoops, and your buddy Nino, I think he's like using like 3 or 4 or something.
Oh God!
But he's a big guy. So.
He is a big dude.
and one of the cool things about him being a boxer and everything, you always want to hear. He said he really, and also all the stress he's going through with the things that are happening with his family. He's talked about it. He feels like it's helped him with his mood a lot as well. So in addition to other things, so that's cool.
Good gut health brings about a healthy vagus nerve, which brings about low cortisol levels and helps you live a more less stress-free type of day. So, and I use GOODBRU every freaking day, and you got me addicted to it.
That's awesome. Yeah, easy to use, and it's because it's a scoop. You're also getting a significant amount of fiber, but you're also able to adjust it to what works for you. Yeah, and if you use other probiotics, it will only help support the other probiotics that you're using as well. Or if you're eating yogurt or whatever else, it only help benefit those things also. So
awesome. Well, I appreciate you, Gabe, and I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And we will see you actually right before Christmas. So we will talk here in just a few more weeks. And I appreciate everything, and everybody out there. Go on over to goodbrew.com/redpill, GOODBRU.com/redpill, and pick yourself up some of those Christmas specials there. So appreciate you, Gabe. Thank you much, man.
Thanks, Josh. You take care.
Take care.
Goodbye.
All right, guys. GOODBRU right there. Awesome stuff. Like I said, I use it myself. And yes, the stuff is all it's cracked up to be. One more, and then we will jump into Venezuela. And my goodness, Venezuela. You got to love it, man. It's psychological warfare at its finest with what's going on with Venezuela. And we're going to discuss that here in a second. But just before that, if you're on Rumble, you're going to see Kafia show up, learn more about America First International Assistance. New research says over 80% of Americans and quarters of Trump voters support America First International Assistance. According to a new poll by McLaughlin, one of Trump's pollsters, Americans across the country support assistance designed to root out fraud, tamp down terrorism, secure our borders, support our small farmers, and feed starving children. And over 70% of Trump voters believe that President Trump should win the Nobel Peace Prize if he creates a world where almost no child starves to death. This is the type of assistance we can get behind. Many people will try to stop him, but only President Trump can turn America First International Assistance into a reality. If he does it, a Nobel Peace Prize is in his future. And you can find those links in the chat, in the description box, and on that QR code that is showing up right there on Rumble. And I appreciate that, guys. And we do have the banner scrolling at the bottom if you want to check that out for any of our other sponsors or ways to help and support everything that we do. But now we're going to jump into Venezuela. And Trump this weekend put out to all airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers, please consider the airspace above the surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Well, what the heck was up with that? Because we haven't seen any bombs drop. We haven't seen any troop movements into Venezuela, but we do have Watch the Water up. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro is running out of options to step down and leave his country under the U.S. guaranteed safe passage following a short call with U.S. President Donald Trump last month, where Trump refused a series of requests from Venezuelan leaders. We have more details on this. So we have Nicolas Maduro reached out to President Trump in the White House. Trump denied the calls. This is pretty crazy. So Maduro reportedly called Trump asking for sweeping amnesty for himself, his officials, and their families. And Trump shut it down fast, telling him to leave Venezuela voluntarily or face other options. The call included Rubio and came days before the U.S. officially labeled Maduro the leader of the foreign terrorist organizations, Cartel de los Soles. Trump then ordered Venezuela's airspace effectively closed, warning airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers to stay out. And at Mar-a-Lago, he hinted ground operations could be next. The land is easier. That's going to start very soon. And let's listen to Donald Trump's 13-second comment on this. And I'll give you my thoughts on what's going on here.
And we'll be starting to stop them by land also. The land is easier, but that's going to start very soon. We warn them, stop sending poison to our country. We also have the 18th...
All right. Well, he said that land is coming soon. Now, this is interesting. One, if by water, two by land. I don't know. Lexington and Concord. It just water and land, right? So we're going to get into that part here in a second. I wanted to go to Dan Scavino's post real quick because that's kind of relevance to what we're talking about with Venezuela. Let me pull these over. All right. All right. So Dan Scavino yesterday on X, he hasn't been posting much lately. I think he's getting wedding plans and he's very busy at his job. But Dan Scavino, let me pull this over. You guys can't see it, but I'm trying to like pull this over. There it is. Okay. He posted a video. So in the midnight hour with watching the water, and people noticed that the sunspot right there kind of forms a Q, which I think is pretty interesting. But what do we got here? Watch the water with the midnight hour playing, 9:45 timestamp. 9:45 timestamp is boom with 5 O's. So I posted my watch the water post along with this because I think that this is critically important to understand what's going on and why it's going on. So watch the water. If you guys did not check out this X post, it is full of what is happening, the legality of what is happening, and why this really does matter. Watch the water. Venezuela, China, Iran, and cartels. Proxy war begins. For over a decade, the U.S. and intel and congressional testimony warned the Isla Margarita, Venezuela, Hezbollah, and Hamas training hubs. IRGC ties Venezuelan officers trained in Iran. Testimony, 2001, the president flagged this island as a safe haven for terror finance, smuggling, and covert ops. Todd Bensman more recently testified Hezbollah-linked actors crossing the Texas border. Hezbollah and Hamas cells embedded in sanctuary cities. Training hubs and networks. Margarita Island, Hezbollah enclave, financial and operational cover. Falcone and Zulia states, corridors tied to narcotics and irregular warfare. Tri-border, Paraguay, Argentina, Brazil, longtime Hezbollah presence. Caracas, Damascus, and Tehran flights. The Terra, a bridge used for movement of operatives. Now the bigger picture. China steps in, billions in loans and military hardware. The Caracas fentanyl drug smuggling operations, influence in Venezuela's ports and infrastructure, strategic foothold in the Caribbean just miles from the U.S. shipping lanes, open source chatter of Chinese nuclear submarines in Venezuela waters. I think that we've confirmed that. The convergence of Iran's proxies plus Chinese naval reach plus Venezuela's regimes makes the Caribbean the new proxy against Chinese Iranian terrorism. Over 4 years, the Biden administration, 23 plus illegal immigrants have crossed the U.S. southern border. Among them, Latin American cartels and gangs, some reportedly trained in militant camps tied to Venezuelan IRGC networks. Middle Eastern terror-linked operatives, ISIS, Hezbollah, Houthis, Taliban, Hamas. The question is, how did they get there? And this is where it gets really interesting. Venezuela is a hub. Migrants funneled through Maduro's system, entering the Darien Gap corridor northward. The Central American cartels would guide the route to the U.S. border through Mexico. China as the enabler, supplying planes and shipping routes to move foreign nationals into Venezuela. Chinese nationals, hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of military-age males also cross via New Mexico and California, all dispersed in the U.S. sanctuary cities and states. This isn't random migration. It's cartels, terror networks, state actors weaponizing mass movement as preemptively set up for a much greater plan. Trump's actions over the course of the last year have been to counter these movements and neutralize them. We've entered the fuck around and find out part of the plan. Now, this is really interesting because I've laid this out multiple different times because there's so much going on here. If you guys listened to Lara Logan's interview with Gary Bernstein the other day, the former CIA guy who came out there and blew the whistle on the 2020 election and how it was stolen, you find out that the Iranian foreign minister was in Caracas watching the elections live as they stole it from Donald Trump with Nicolas Maduro. Now, what was the plan? What was the grand plan? Why would they do this? Well, this was the plan to take down the United States of America, what I call a firestorm type of event. This is why General Flynn more recently has been calling that, hey, we are in the midst of a color revolution. Wake up, people. And this color revolution is exactly how I modeled the firestorm type of event. Social and cultural destabilization, infiltration of our institutions and our political centers, attacks on supply chain and infrastructure. Those are going to start up again. And then that leads to global economic collapse in World War III. But let's look at the color revolution aspect of things. We know that there's 23 plus million people that came over the southern border. Many of them emptied out of the jails of Venezuela. Many of them from the Margarita Island in Venezuela that were Hamas and Hezbollah units. They were IRGC trained. We know Nicolas Maduro trained Tren de Aragua, 500 of their members in intelligence operative tactics. Sent them as the first line to establish networks directly in the United States, and then 5,000 plus followed right after this. We know that Iran and China have been funding much of these operations. We know that their whole plan was to distribute across the United States in various different sanctuary cities, begin drying up the American wealth by taking in subsidies through welfare and healthcare programs. But then at the right moment, when a color revolution breaks out, when protests are in the street, it turns violent. You get an active shooter situation in one side of the city, multiple different shooters. You get an all call. 911 networks are taken down at that point, and then sleeper cells get activated. They take over command and control centers. They take over state governments, local governments. They take over National Guard armories, police stations. They take over communications. They take over energy production and water. and then that city is lost. And within 24 hours, one American city would take 5 years to get back. Now put that on a scale of 20 American cities with millions of terrorists inside of our country. That is the extent of what they were about to do to the United States of America. But Donald Trump plays 4D chess, and he plays it very, very well. Now, why was there Chinese military males in our country? Well, that's actually pretty easy. They're the cleanup crew. See, China funded all of this because what they really wanted is they wanted American farmland. They wanted to control the United States of America after the fall. And so the Chinese military age males were meant to come in after all the chaos had ensued and begin cleaning it up. Basically, just sweep through the country and take over as much land as they possibly could. Now, this is their plan. This is the color revolution. It is still ongoing. It is still happening. And with the latest terrorist event that we had last week, this is a sharp indicator that things might be kicking off faster and sooner than we ever thought possible. Now, with understanding that, how has Donald Trump counteracted this? Well, Donald Trump has done a series of different things around the world utilizing unrestricted warfare. What do we mean by unrestricted warfare? We mean warfare with no rules, warfare that takes into account all the different domains that warfare has to offer. Anything that is available to the human mind, the human eyes, the human hands, the human ears is a domain of warfare. So information, all of social media, all of the internet, all of the news and media and broadcast, Hollywood. We're talking about economics. We're talking about air, land, space, cyber. We're talking about every single domain that you can think of with no rules attached to it. So what has Donald Trump done specifically to curtail China, to stop Venezuela from activating sleeper cells, to stop Venezuela from supporting and sponsoring the terror in Venezuela that was moving up into our southern border, to stop Mexico? Well, he utilized new trade negotiations globally throughout various different countries, incentivizing their relationship and partnerships with the United States of America. More strictly, Northern African nations and Middle Eastern nations, which is the hotbed for a massive amount of radicalized Islamic terrorism. Economically, Donald Trump had China on their knees back in June and July of this last year, to the point where Xi Jinping was nationally embarrassed by the CCP, the PLA, and the people of China. He looked weak, and they even made moves to remove Xi Jinping from power and make him just a forward-facing puppet. Now, Donald Trump made it to the point where there's mutually assured destruction between China and the United States if either one attacks the other. In other words, if China is in on this, China is going to face economic hardship like they've never experienced before in their lives, as well as it goes back to the aspect of resource allocation, one of the big primaries that we've talked about before. And this all leads into the next parts of what we talk about when we get into AI and technological evolution, and why resources are so paramount to the future and the control of those resources. One thing Donald Trump has done is he went out there and dismantled the Belt and Roads Initiative all throughout Africa, all throughout the Middle East, and all throughout Latin and South America. This is China's basically strategy and plan to be the world leader, the hyperpower for the next 100 years. And Trump absolutely single-handedly dismantled it over the course of 11 months. On top of that, we go in and we find out that Donald Trump made deals with various different Middle Eastern countries, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. We have alliances directly with Turkey, with Egypt, with Jordan. This makes up the international security force that's actually going to go in there and hold up Gaza. So this neutralizes Israel in those regions. Oh, and Syria. Right? We have the backdoor channels between Pakistan, the General Army Chief of Staff there, and Iran, of which Donald Trump sent some warnings, and there's mutual respect actually occurring between the Ayatollah Khamenei and Donald Trump. But what did he say? He shut down China's illicit oil shipments from Iran. And then he came back afterwards, after he basically bombed the shit out of Iranian nuclear facilities, and said, oh, China can buy oil from Iran at market price. And he did that on purpose, because that forces China's hands in the Venezuela to where they're going to get cheap oil and cheap oil. What I mean is cheap monetarily and cheap oil out of the ground. But China has been getting over 93% of their oil and gas directly from Venezuela. But they've been doing it under U.S. sanctions, under Western sanctions. So why do we have a large naval presence there? Well, number one is a large naval presence goes out there and they interdict vessels that are flagged under international maritime registries. So they go out there and they'll board a tanker that's holding illegal Venezuelan gas heading to China. That is one of the main parts. Number two is the nuclear sub-threat that is potentially out there. Number three is that it's a physical deterrent to Venezuela. In other words, if the Houthis or Hamas or Hezbollah have active sleeper cells in the United States of America, and they get activated one day and they just start taking over cities. Well, Donald Trump has a strategy for that, but the first thing that he's going to do is he's going to bomb the shit out of Tehran. He's going to bomb the shit out of Yemen. He's going to bomb the shit out of every country associated with those terrorist organizations, and he's already notified them that this is going to happen. That's a great deterrent for them not to activate those sleeper cells. And he told the Ayatollah in Iran, he said, if any radical Islamic terrorism rises up that we know you are associated or affiliated with or funding, we are going to bomb the shit out of you. He was warned. Okay, so what about Nicaragua, or what about the Cartel de los Soles or Sinaloa? Well, all of the Mexican and Latin American cartels are controlled primarily by the Cartel de los Soles, which is then controlled by multinational conglomerates through Cuban intelligence and MI6 and other intelligence agencies. Well, he came out there and he put the U.S. Navy raid on Venezuela's border and said, Maduro, if any of the cartel members or any of Nicaragua go out there and do this color revolution, we're bombing the shit out of you. That's a great deterrent not to go out and do that. So he neutralized Iran, China, and Venezuela in less than 11 months. Now, at the same time, he accumulated resources. He made defense cooperation agreements with various countries in the Middle East. You have UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, giving them massive armaments through the United States military, as well as defense cooperation agreements. This neutralizes Israel. This neutralizes Iran within the Middle East, and it westernizes Syria and Gaza and all of these other areas. Now, why is that so important? Because when you shut down China's ability to get cheap oil directly from Venezuela with basically the naval embargo that's already over there, what happens next? They're forced back on the open markets. They're forced to get the majority of their production of oil through the open markets, which is going to be OPEC, or force them into the hands of the United States of America, which Scott Bessent and Donald Trump actually offered China. You remember, you go back a month to the Chinese negotiations. The United States offered $380 billion oil deal directly to China from the United States of America. And if they accepted it, that would actually set in the stone the mutually assured economic destruction, to where the United States and China would never go into warfare because they are completely dependent upon each other for resources. Now, I don't know how that deal is coming about, but it's potentially coming about. But the idea that you need to see here is that now China is forced to buy oil and gas from the open markets, Russia and OPEC. And Russia, don't worry, I think that is coming to a tail here. We know about the sovereign alliance. We know Trump and Xi have a plan that was negotiated back in Rome in 2018. But when we go into China, now they have to buy oil and gas from OPEC. Well, why is that important? Well, what happens if China goes to invade Taiwan? Immediately, there's going to be an embargo on Chinese oil that's flowing in from OPEC, because OPEC, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, they're going to shut down all shipments to China because they have a defense cooperation agreement directly with the United States of America, which means that if the United States of America is going to go engage in warfare with China, they're not going to get gas from the Middle East anymore. It's absolutely genius. And we have the naval fleet to embargoes directly on them from Russia. We're already doing it in Venezuela. So in other words, President Donald Trump has neutralized all of his enemies economically and militarily around the globe, to the point where they have to lay down their arms and play his game. So what are we dealing with primarily? We are dealing with NGOs, non-government organizations, various multinational organizations that are funding terror through various different proxy cells, and how that is rising up right now. And the reason they're honing in and trying to go for the kill shot is because, well, they're being investigated. The money ties are being investigated. I mean, there's enough evidence already declassified and already there available online to indict George Soros and George Soros's networks and Alex Soros multiple different times over on RICO charges. You can include various intelligence apparatuses, the EU, London bankers. You can include the Rothschilds and Linforce de Rothschild. You can include MI6 and various other foreign intelligence agencies, French intelligence agencies. They're all indicted and included within this whole plethora of information that we're talking about here. So when you look at what's coming up right now, there's a lot to lose globally for these organizations to lose to Donald Trump. A lot of money on the line. And like I've always said, you're going to get a new world order, whether you like it or not. You're going to get the Western New World Order, which is coming out of the EU and the World Economic Forum, the United Nations. And that is a commie-fascist, oligarchical controlled, technocratic communist state. Or you're going to get a multipolar world where nation states compete on an economic and technological level, and they come together to bring about a revolution like never seen before on this planet. But they come about in the context that, hey, we're no longer nations against each other, but we are nations working together for the betterment of humanity to get ourselves off this planet and to other planets. That's where we're moving to. And why is this so important? Why is the control of resources that Donald Trump has done? Why was he talking about Greenland? Why was he talking about Canada? Why is he getting the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo? Why is he getting mineral deals in there? Why is he getting mineral deals in South America? Why is he getting mineral deals all throughout Africa and the Middle East? The reason is because of artificial intelligence. The first one to artificial superintelligence is going to win. They're going to be the hyper country, the hyper nation of the world that leads the world technologically. We just saw 30,000 scientists are being allocated into the the Genesis mission that is being released by the Department of Energy. You have to understand what this is truly about. This isn't about like we're going to bring 30,000 scientists in to work with AI to find out why Newton was right. No. Guys, I've been talking about drip, drip, flood. I've been talking about the trickle down disclosure that's happening. You have high advanced technology, exotic technology that's been reverse engineered, that's ancient on this planet or coming from off world, whatever it is. You have some highly advanced technology that's been sitting in special, unacknowledged special access programs that trillions of dollars have flooded into over the last 70 to 80 years. You can't just release that technology to the world. So what do? You bring 30,000 scientists in, they utilize artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence begins making those discoveries and then implement it into commercialization and introducing that technological flow to the people over a 10 to 20 year span. I shit you not. This is exactly what's happening. This is what I've been talking about with trickle-down disclosure. That's the world that we have to look forward to when the good guys are in control. When the bad guys are in control, all of that goes away. No longer commercialization of that. They just control it, pinpoint. That's it. And you become enslaved in a technocratic, oligarchical controlled slave state. So that's what we're up against right now. Why are resource allocations so important? Because he who controls the resources is going to control artificial intelligence. There's three main components of artificial intelligence that you have to keep in mind. Data information is one of them, computational power, and energy. Energy is the big one. The more energy you have access to and that you can feed into artificial intelligence, the other two parts come naturally through process flow, and whoever has the most energy is going to win and get the ASI first. And this is why Trump is working like this, utilizing a multi-pronged approach to neutralize China. Number one, through their color revolutions and their proxy wars against the United States. And number two, for their technological advancement on the global stage, trying to be the hyperpower to lead the world. By limiting their energy or controlling the flow of the amount of oil and gas or energy into China, Trump wins. I didn't expect to go on that long rant. But sometimes I just get going and I can't stop. Oh, I love this. This literally just came out. I just posted this, but I've been talking about it for a while now. And Jesse Waters, let's listen to what Jesse Waters has to say here.
Fox News alert, it is Judgment Day. Sources say Maduro's been praying to Jesus. That's the narco-terrorist, socialist dictator who took over for Hugo Chavez in Venezuela and keeps flooding American streets with migrants, gangs, and cocaine. 11 U.S. warships, including our largest carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, are now in the Caribbean. Venezuela is surrounded. The strike group is waiting on orders from the commander-in-chief as the president's holding high-level meetings at the White House, calculating our next move against the narco state. The choice is Maduro's. Trump's giving him an ultimatum: abdicate power or else. After Trump's phone call with the dictator, that's the best offer.
The New York Times reported that you had a phone call with Maduro. Did you?
I don't want to comment on it. The answer is yes.
And can you tell us a little bit
No,
about
I can't
it?
do that.
Mr. President, would you say it went well?
No, I wouldn't say it went well or badly. It was a phone call.
This time, it wasn't a perfect phone call. The Venezuelan strongman reportedly asked for global amnesty, and Trump said, how about no? Then he said, what if I hold free and fair elections? Trump said, no, you already did that and you lost. Then he asked, if I step down, can I still control the military? 47 said, pack your bags. Even with a $50 million bounty on his head, Maduro's maintained an iron grip on power by bribing his cronies with kickbacks from the coke, oil, and gold rackets. But this time, the narcos aren't calling shots anymore. Uncle Sam is, a.k.a. Trump. And the president's tightening the noose. In the last 24 hours, Trump declared the airspace above Venezuela entirely closed. Closing airspace can only mean one thing. This is escalating, and it's escalating quickly. The commander-in-chief isn't going to ratchet up the pressure, then walk away without a win. There's no way Maduro can face down the full force of a U.S. carrier strike group. The president is keeping his options open.
What's the position on whether U.S. troops on the ground is a possibility there? Is that, I know you've answered that before, but what's the current operative?
In Venezuela? I think my previous answer stands. There's many options at the president's disposal that are on the table.
Maduro's a sitting duck, and word on the street is he'll be out of power before Christmas. No one's bailing the socialist out. He's getting no love from his sponsors in Beijing and Moscow. Putin and Xi Jinping are at the table with Trump doing much bigger trade and diplomatic deals. They're not going to throw Maduro a lifeline and jeopardize the deals over a small fry in our backyard. And we're doing the Europeans a big favor. Venezuelan gangs have been trafficking boatloads of coke to West Africa, and the Africans have been pouring it into France and Germany. Maduro's isolated. According to UN investigators, he's guilty of crimes against humanity, torture, murder, sexual violence. He only got 20% of the vote last year, stole the election, and wouldn't leave. And he's unleashed migrants, gangs, and poison onto our shores. Chuck Schumer's backed military action in Iraq, Afghanistan.
Okay, this is 14 minutes long. We're not going to listen to all of it, but I want you to understand. Go back last week, Lara Logan's interview with Gary Bernstein and Ralph there. What you find out is that the command and control center to steal the 2020 election was done from Venezuela. Okay? Now, what could Trump have up his sleeve of what is going on? See, Nicolas Maduro is a middleman in this whole organization of things. We know Iran was involved. We know Cuban intelligence was involved. We know the Central Intelligence Agency was involved. We know that there was state actors, Democrats, the DNC involved in this. We know that there was financing involved from foreign entities. The UK, Rothschild Soros, China. How do you tie it all together? You need someone to testify. You need someone to come out there and say, here's all the paperwork, here's all the evidence. So when Donald Trump is going to Nicolas Maduro and he's saying, leave your country right now, the moment Nicolas Maduro steps foot in another country around the world, he's going to be extradited to the United States of America. And the deal that he's going to have to make is testify against all these people for a reduced sentence. It wraps it all in together. It unravels the whole grand conspiracy. You get Nicolas Maduro on that stand as a testifying witness, he takes down the whole house of cards. It all begins to unravel. So I want you to begin to see that perspective. Now, is Maduro going to leave the country? Yes. I do believe by Friday, December 5th, D5, Maduro will leave. I believe that he's probably already on his way out the country. Now, what does that mean? It means that most likely he's going to abandon his military, his country, his people. Him and his family will leave. They'll probably go to a place like China or Russia or Iran, most likely Iran, because there's not an extradition. But guess what? Trump is way smarter than that. And you got to remember, one of Qatar's biggest business, or one of Iran's biggest business partners is Qatar. And Trump has really good relations with Qatar. And so when Nicolas Maduro is going to land in Iran, I'm telling you, he's going to make his way over to Qatar, and he's going to be extradited back to the United States. I think it's going to happen this week. Does this mean that we're going to have a ground invasion, that we're going to have a bombing campaign? I don't know for certain, but what I can tell you is that the military action that is being taken against Maduro right now in Venezuela is 98% psychological warfare. 98% psychological warfare of what we are seeing. And what was it? We had... there was a post out there. Oh, man, I don't have the post. Oh, well, there's a post out there earlier talking about how Maduro doesn't sleep at night, that he is in fear for his life, not only from Trump and the U.S. military, but from the cartels that are organized underneath him, from the other actors above him, the puppet masters. This is a psychological warfare operation to get Nicolas Maduro to abandon his country, get on a plane, and freaking leave. And the moment he touches down somewhere else, it's only going to be a matter of hours or days before he's in the United States and in handcuffs. General Michael Flynn, 1.4 million Americans killed in action in the streets of America since 2000 by narco-terrorist groups over the past 25 years. There's roughly 56,000 Americans killed in action every year. In approximately 20 years of America's being in Vietnam, we lost 50,000 people killed in action. Let's not get into the other resources wasted over there in Vietnam or other far-flung places that simply aren't priorities for the American people and all of our occurring while certain people here line their pockets. Enough is enough. Our priorities are so screwed up in America under President Donald Trump's leadership. It needs to completely reset our national security priorities and focus. So what he's talking about here is that you have Congress and Senate attacking Donald Trump for going out there and bombing the shit out of these narco vessels, for killing terrorists that have been declared terrorists and almost potentially waging war with their leader, Nicolas Maduro. And the Democrats want to scream like, those were innocent people. Those were not innocent people. I will admit that in some context, some of those people on those vessels were prisoners. They were put up to it. The cartels have their families. Tough shit. You decided to hold the gun. You decided to run the drugs. That was your choice and your decision. And you pay the ultimate price for that. Welcome to warfare, right? But if we're going to look at this epidemic of 56,000 Americans killed every year since the year 2000, we have to do something about it. And President Donald J. Trump is doing something about it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg when we talk about everything that's happening. Now, I love this. I'm gonna play Catherine Levitt real quick, and then I will go into what is happening, what is being said, and all this fucking nonsense.
I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over. And so that's why you've seen a drastic difference in this administration's policy with respect to the last, and it's one of the many reasons the American public reelected this president and support this Secretary of War in conducting these strikes.
damn, she's good. Man, she is good. And what did we hear today? So Hegseth defends admiral who ordered second strike, an American hero. War Secretary Pete Hegseth is standing firmly behind Navy Admiral Mitch Bradley amid bipartisan scrutiny over the follow-up strike that reportedly killed survivors of the initial attack. Let's make one thing crystal clear. Admiral Mitch Bradley is an American hero of true professionalism and has 100% my support. I stand by him in combat decisions he has made on the September 2nd mission and all others since. America is fortunate to have such men protecting us. What happened on September 2nd? Well, the September 2nd strikes, if you remember, were the first strikes on narco-terrorist vessels. This strike right here. But there's some facts that the left is getting wrong on this. Okay? So number one is if you pause, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 people on board this vessel. Maybe 4 max, maybe 3. You can't really tell. It's kind of blurred out. There's a few points where you can get a good screenshot. But there's not 11 people on that vessel. There's 4. And they're all center mass in that vessel. I want you to keep an eye on that part, okay? Now, this is where it gets struck. Ba-boom. That is a 20-pound warhead striking into that small 20-foot vessel. Obliterating it, okay? Now, obviously, we don't see any video footage of survivors because most likely there was none. Okay. This is nothing more than just the left twisting facts. I broke this down. War crimes. Did Pete Hegseth order the execution of survivors? A New York Times or Washington Post article came out today claiming that Pete Hegseth ordered the execution of the survivors of that strike that were hanging on for dear life to the side of the vessel, and he ordered SEAL Team 6 to do it. And this comes from anonymous sources. This is the Washington Post. Anonymous sources said this. He ordered SEAL Team 6 to go out there and kill them. Let me break down what the footage actually shows, what a Reaper strike really looks like, and why SEAL Team 6 execution story is absurd. I post the thermal feed. The vessel simply does not contain 11 people. This is a 20 to 25-foot fishing skiff, the kind commonly seen throughout the Caribbean. From the drone video, the boat is narrow, open hold. Only 4 individuals are visible. There's nothing underneath except for cocaine. Even fully packed, the absolute maximum capacity would be 5 to 6 people, not 11. The claim that this tiny vessel came to 11 people is physically impossible. A hellfire strike on the boat that small is almost always lethal. People pushing this narrative ignore the physics. A hellfire missile is designed to destroy armored vehicles. It carries a 20-pound high explosive warhead on a 20-foot wooden fiberglass skiff. The blast will shatter the hull, detonate fuel, send fragmentation through the entire interior, and violently kill anybody nearby. Survival is possible only in rare edge hit scenarios. That's not what the video shows. And even then, the survivors are severely wounded, burned, concussed, or unconscious, or barely afloat on debris. The idea that the skiff was hit and yet somehow 2 or 3 fully functional survivors remain for an hour is not realistic. The footage released by the administration clearly shows catastrophic ignition at impact, which is almost always fatal for anyone not already thrown clear. And if they wasn't fatal, they were unconscious, drowned in the water. The SEAL Team 6 execution claim is operationally absurd. Here's what the Washington Post wants people to believe. A Reaper drone destroyed a narco boat. 1 to 2 fatally injured survivors were in the water, and the U.S. then dispatched SEAL Team 6 to finish them off. This is fantasy. Why it makes zero military sense? GOODBRU, or SEAL Team 6 Development Group, is a Tier 1 national mission unit. Hostage rescue, counterterrorism, high-value targets, nuclear interdiction, maritime counter-piracy are on major commercial vessels. They are not dispatched to kill a wounded drug smuggler bobbing in the ocean. That is beneath their mission scope by several orders of magnitude. If the goal was to kill survivors, the Reaper itself would have conducted the follow-up strike, which it did. Rules of engagement, legal oversight, and operation doctrine all make an execution squad deployment impossible. This claim was designed for shock value and emotional impact, not truth. Now, here's the key part. This is why they're investigating the Seditious Six people. Listen to this. The timing with the Seditious Six video is not a coincidence. Just days before this anonymous source hit piece by the Washington Post happened, a group of anti-Trump lawmakers released a video telling U.S. troops do not obey unlawful orders. This is part of an old color revolution psyop tactic. Plant suspicion that the military chain of command is compromised, condition troops to question orders, pre-frame a narrative that Trump officials issue illegal commands, release a coordinated media story that confirms the fear they just created, i.e., 2 survivors killed by direct orders of Hegseth. Look at the consequences. Democrats and anti-Trump Republicans release a video aimed directly at service members. They warn troops about illegal orders. 48 to 72 hours later, the Washington Post publishes a story claiming Trump's Secretary of Defense ordered war crimes. The story is based entirely on anonymous officials, disputed claims, no physical evidence, no confirmed survivors, a video of alleged second strike, and an impossible vessel occupant count. This was constructive narrative deployment. This is a smear piece, and the timing gives it away. The whole story just shows how irrelevant and discredited the mainstream media actually is, but also how they're in collusion directly with the deep state and the deep state operatives. Now, who's responsible for this operation? Who is the one leading this type of operation out there? Well, I think we can find some there we go. Well, it's the same person who was involved in the shooting of the National Guard soldiers. But listen to the General Flynn on Bannon here. We're not going to play the full 5 minutes, but we'll play a little bit of it.
So you're saying the date was chosen, or this guy was used for a color revolution. One, tell the audience, what do you mean by that, and who's in charge? Who's in your best thinking, who's driving this color revolution against the people and the sovereignty of the United States?
Yeah, I think that right now, and we have to really take a hard look at what happened all the way back to 2016 under Obama, and I think that Obama is still in the mix here. I think the operational commander on the battlefield here in the United States of America is John Brennan. I believe that. I mean, that's my gut. I think that there's enough indicators out there for the types of activities that you look at what John Brennan has said, what he's been talking about. I do think that Obama is a part of the command structure. When we talk about, I'm putting it into military terminology, but I believe that that's part of the command structure. There is an international component to this. I call it the axis of resistance. The axis of resistance essentially consists of communists, both that are emanating from the CCP's control, but also communists inside of our country. I mean, you know, if people don't believe that there's communists in Congress, you know, go look at the way that they voted to get rid of socialism. I mean, what it was, 92 didn't vote against socialism as part of the functioning parts of our government.
So General Flynn right there calling out John Brennan. John Brennan, who we know has been one of the people most likely behind the Seditious Six, organizing that with holdovers within the Central Intelligence Agency, that they funded this, they edited it, they produced this video with active duty congressmen and senators. And now Senator Mark Kelly is going to be facing potentially jail time because of this video that they made. And now the Washington Post comes out with this hit piece based on anonymous sources that's completely untrue, but it's only meant to scatter that doubt within soldiers' minds, that now soldiers are hearing that Pete Hegseth gave an illegal order to kill innocent civilians. Oh my God, and the Seditious Six just told me not to obey illegal orders. See how that works together? See how that ties together? This was coordinated. This is the operations that they are pushing out there because they're leading up to something. They are leading up to the removal of Donald Trump. Whether that is a scapegoat scenario to where we have military dispatched to the streets through Insurrection Act, and they open up on civilians, and Donald Trump is removed because they obeyed illegal orders or whatever it might be, we can tell that they are putting out a narrative right now that they are going to set up Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and all of these guys to take them out through Congress. And here's the thing. If national media coverage was covering something that Donald Trump gave an illegal order to the military and the military messed something up, fucked around, and someone died because of it, this Congress, Republicans and Democrats, will impeach him. Understand that. There's not a lot of good people that we have out there. Now, an update for what we were talking about earlier. I talked about the interview with Gary Bernstein with Lara Logan. And we talked about this was Patrick Byrne's story that was being told. Patrick Byrne, he went on Mike Lindell and he explained this. And I want you to hear it from from Patrick Byrne's side of the story. We already heard parts of the story, but I want you to hear one key point that I'm actually going to comment on because this is critically important to understand.
Elon was not involved other than vouching because he wanted to be legally pure. And it was all done super legally through Cyber Command. The information was taken to Cyber Command and the United States government through its existing legal authorities, zapped a place in Belgrade, Serbia. I heard they smoked. There's ways hackers can get on and defeat security protocols, overclock a processor in your machine, turn off the fan and melt it down. I heard that they melted down some of the computers over. Who knows if hackers exaggerated on that. That's what really happened. Elon wasn't part of that because he was trying to be a legal virgin about it all. But he played a super critical role. He had my Zorro. Can I tell you what Zorro said after spending an afternoon with him? It was a funny.
Yeah. Okay. What Patrick Byrne just told you there was something so critical. Now, Patrick Byrne came on this show with myself and Alpha back in November 20th, 2024, and told us how him and a group of people, including General Michael Flynn, saved this country by basically shutting down those servers so the 2024 election could be completely legitimate. We learned during Laura Logan's interview from Gary Bernstein that they shut down the servers in Serbia 3 days before the U.S. election and that the election was allowed to be legitimate. Patrick Byrne said that they got the IP addresses from a Japanese guy on X. They paid him $15 in Bitcoin. He released the IP addresses from the PCAP data that came out of the Serbian Belgrade servers, and that during the Venezuelan election, Patrick Byrne ran a team of 30 cyber experts who DDoS'd the attack of those servers, which then stopped the Venezuelan election from being stolen, and that's the one that Maduro actually lost, and then he rigged it and came back and took the power back, okay? So up until probably yesterday, we all believed that it was Patrick Byrne that ran this operation. No, it was fucking Cyber Command. Do you understand what they just said there? That U.S. Cyber Command, under Joe Biden's administration, ran an operation and took out the Serbian Belgrade servers. I want to see something. I want to see something because that's Joe Biden's military that did that. That would have been General Timothy D. Hall. General Hall formerly assumed command February 2nd, 2024. So the military, U.S. military, saved the 2024 election. Cyber Command ran a legitimate operation that shut down Serbian servers that were stealing the election. Where's Michael? Military is the only way, buddy. And here's the key. The order for that to Cyber Command, somehow the information got from the Trump campaign to Cyber Command, where Cyber Command General Hall believed there was enough relevant information to act upon it. Now, Patrick Byrne's out there saying Elon wasn't involved in this. He didn't want anything to do with it. But Elon had defense contracts during that time directly with Cyber Command. Donald Trump had really a lot of loyalists within the U.S. military. Donald Trump was directly coordinating with Israel at that time, giving the orders for them to strike on Hezbollah. Israel has direct correlation in coordination with Cyber Command. Do you see? When we go to the idea that a lot of people are saying that Donald Trump is still commander-in-chief, I don't believe he was commander-in-chief, but I do believe that he had a lot of loyalists. And I do believe that if he came forth and went to General Hall, or you had enough people come forth to General Hall at Cyber Command and say, hey, this is real, this is legitimate, they're stealing our elections, here's the evidence, here's the proof. And he goes, shit, you're right. You know what? Let's do an operation. And they ran an operation. Now, that would have been a clandestine secret operation. Now, who would have ran that? I don't know the initiatory factors. Maybe General Charles Flynn had something to do with this. It would have been in his AOR. I think more information is going to come out about that, but I find that incredibly interesting. It's those small little details that we need to pay attention to. And it's just incredible to even just listen to this, right? All right, real quick on this one. For my Rumblers out there, for everybody on Rumble, let's be clear, cryptocurrency is no longer emerging. It's here, and this latest move cements that reality in the biggest way yet. Trump Media Group just inked a massive $6.4 billion deal with Crypto.com, the world's top crypto platform. They're teaming up to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO, the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low-fee DeFi, staking rewards, and real-world perks like cashback on your spends to launch America's first CRO treasury. When it's done, this new company will be the biggest CRO holder out there. Want in on the action? Head to crypto.com today and grab some CRO. Let's make crypto great again. All right. See, painless. And we're only halfway through the show. All right. Yes. And I'm very well aware that the Lara Logan interview with Gary Bernstein and talking about Smart Mac and all this, it doesn't implicate China. It doesn't implicate the CIA. It very rarely touches on the Soros networks, except for Lord Mark Malloch Brown, which we already went over, MI6 and Five Eyes. But if you want to know who is really involved in the stealing of the 2020 election, NGOs, John Brennan, Obama, MI6, Five Eyes, Soros networks, Rothschilds, CIA, and China. When we say CIA, I always differentiate when I talk about the deep state intelligence apparatus, which is kind of like the stay-behinds within the State Department, within the DOD, the DIA, the CIA. But then we also talk about CIA proper. And this was CIA proper, I believe, was involved. I believe that there's paperwork that actually goes out there and shows all this. Let me see here. We covered most of all of this. I'm talking about the CIA. There you go. Minute and 17 seconds. Great clip. Talking about the CIA. CIA, don't flag me. I don't want to be on those lists.
He needs to recognize that we must stop the CIA from driving U.S. policy, domestically and foreign. I'm telling you, Steve, that is a massive, massive problem. And I wouldn't say 50%. I would say shut the doors. It is no longer, it's a dead organization because it's an organization that is killing. It operates in the darkness. It is killing us. And so that's my message to President Trump. That's sort of step one for him. I don't care what somebody's handicap is. You take that organization and you rip it apart because that organization is driving our policy everywhere. And it's killing our country right now. And it really is. I mean, the people that are part of it and the people that have been part of it are the ones still operating and driving everything going on in our nation. I mean, it's got to stop. It has to stop. And that means in Congress, that means in the White House, that means in the judiciary, and that's definitely overseas, some of the things that they're doing, the nefarious things that they're doing. And that's not going to make me any friends over there at Langley, but too goddamn bad. These people, this organization is driving this country and has been driving this country for 50 years or more. It has to be completely gutted and changed. And you're right about the other organizations, you know.
Okay. So gutted and changed. And so basically distribute their assets throughout the other intelligence agencies, centralize all of those intelligence agencies down to one, put it under the military. Now, what General Flynn is also talking about, the problem with it is you still have the deep state intelligence apparatus. You still have the various different operatives within the State Department, the various different operatives out there in working for NGOs and think tanks and government contractors. And that makes up, in my thoughts, the real deep state intelligence apparatus. But when you cut them off from command authority, Oh, that's huge. And this is what he's talking about, is remove that CIA proper, that command authority, and you begin to dismantle that entire network. And I think that when General Flynn comes back into the Trump administration, Trump admin 2.0, that we're going to see some head roll. And I think that that's going to be immediately after Susie Wiles departs. We talked about that. So House Oversight releases bombshell footage. Biden aides admit to health cover-up. House Oversight Committee has released exclusive extended footage of Biden aides admitting how they propped up the 46th president as he declined. Makeup, teleprompters at his fundraisers, limiting events, stage managing appearances, reducing his workload, avoiding interviews, even recruiting Hollywood director Steven Spielberg and Jeffrey Katzenberg to help with the State of Union address. They controlled everything, including who could see him. This wasn't a presidency, it was a production. A 91-page committee report found Biden's inner circle took steps to meticulously stage manage his public appearances, lighten his private workload, and block lawmakers from talking to him directly. The key aides took the Fifth Amendment when questioned, including White House physician Dr. O'Connor, who refused to answer, were you ever told to lie about the president's health? Former Chief of Staff Jeff Zients admitted under oath he didn't even know who operated the auto pen that signed approximately 92% of Biden's documents. This is the smoking gun. Remember when I told you Trump, they have the evidence? Former Chief of Staff Jeff Zients admitted under oath he didn't know who operated the auto pen that signed approximately 92% of Biden's documents. Trump now has declared all auto pen signed executive actions null and void and threatened Biden with perjury charges if he claims he authorized them. Huge. An Ohio senator has introduced a bill that bans Americans from holding dual citizenship. Yay! It's about fucking time. I can't wait. I hope that term limits, no dual citizenship is what we need. Minnesota. U.S. Treasury announced a federal investigation into allegations that Minnesota tax dollars were funneled to terrorist groups Al-Shabaab under the Biden administration and Governor Tim Walz. Treasury is investigating the allegations that under the feckless mismanagement of the Biden administration and Governor Tim Walz, hardworking Minnesotans' tax dollars may have been diverted to the terrorist organization Al-Shabaab. Thanks to the leadership of President Donald J. Trump, we are acting to ensure Americans' taxes are not funding acts of global terrorism. Minnesota staff fraud reporting commentary. Minnesota DHS is talking about this. Tim Walz is 100% responsible for the massive fraud in Minnesota. We let Tim Walz know of fraud early on, hoping the partnership in stopping fraud, but no, we got the opposite response. Tim Walz systematically retaliated against whistleblowers using monitoring, threats, repression, and did his best to discredit fraud reports. Instead of partnership, we got a full weight of retaliation by Tim Walz, certain DFL members, and an indifferent mainstream media. It's scary, isolating, and left us wondering who we can turn to. So, massive scandals breaking out in Minnesota, and I'm glad because that's where I live, and Tim Walz needs to be taken down. So huge that investigations are operating and that we can potentially see the Walz administration taken down, especially right before the next elections. And I think that this is a precedent that the Trump administration is telling you, is that campaigns are starting to roll up here in Minnesota for governor. Starting in 2026. And now we're seeing the investigations in the Tim Walz. And I bet you this is going to land Keith Ellison and Tim Walz in jail. Because I know Keith Ellison is directly behind all of this as the attorney general. And this is going to be right before midterm primary, the midterm primaries for governor. All right. NATO top general drops the word preemptive strike. Moscow calls it irresponsible. Everyone calls it a diplomatic grenade. We know that the EU, NATO, has been prompting action to move 300,000 troops into Poland area and arena, as well as large movements of military supplies and vehicles, as well as munitions into those areas, ramping up the war effort to take out Russia, especially as Donald Trump nears to a peace deal with Ukraine. Here's my thoughts. NATO is obsolete. Without the U.S. and Turkey, both against the war with Russia, NATO is nothing more than a little man screaming big words, hiding behind a giant. It's time for Donald Trump to leave NATO. And I think that that's one thing that we need to focus on. Trump needs to leave NATO and leave it yesterday. this last weekend. Well, number one, you gotta talk about this. Crypto dump today. You're on my crypto mastermind yesterday. You knew this. Told you it was going to happen. We're going to go down to that 75,000 mark. Japan's 10-year government bond yield surges to 1.84%, its highest level since April 2008. Why is that important? Because it was its highest level in April 2008, right before the derivatives market's crash of the housing market and mortgage scam. So we're in a bubble that is slowly being deflated, and it's going to continue over the next month. But there's also possibility that it explodes. Federal Reserve just pumped $13.5 billion in the U.S. banking system through overnight repos. This is the second largest liquidity injection since COVID and surpasses even the peak of the dot-com bubble. Now, last week when we talked economics, I told you we're in a liquidity crisis. This is why Japan bond rates are rising. What happens is that the carry trade that people take on the JPY has to get liquidated because people were buying stocks and cryptocurrency with nothing more than margin. They were borrowing it on loans of collateral of JPY because bond rate is typically very, very neutral. It doesn't move up and down. So it's a good collateralization asset to pull margin out on 2 or 3x leverage. And then they go out there and buy US tech stocks and cryptocurrency. But when that bond rate rises, you get liquidated and you have to sell off because the majority of the money within the markets is not real money. It's marginalized money. It's the derivatives market that is propping up the actual market and producing this fictitious bubble. So the Federal Reserve is injecting $13.5 billion through overnight repos into the market to keep the liquidity fluid and keep the market stabilized. This is a short interim solution and doesn't last long. It's a indication that we're potentially going to see some type of economic calamity occur in the next, I would say, 30 days. Now, is it going to be a black swan type of event? I don't think so, honestly. I think that even if we had a 20% decline in Wall Street and NASDAQ, that it's going to be like, it's not going to make a fucking difference. It's going to be like business as normal tomorrow. But people are going to get hurt, but just don't sell. Buy more. Buy the dip. Oh, I love this one. I love this one. 21 seconds of pure love to my ears, Donald Trump.
For the next couple of years, I think we'll substantially be cutting and maybe cutting out completely, but we'll be cutting income tax. Could be almost completely cutting it because the money we're taking in is going to be so large. And yet, other countries who have been ripping us off for many, many years, and many years they've just been ripping us to shreds. For the next couple of years, I think we'll substantially be cutting and maybe cutting out completely, but we'll be cutting
the federal income tax, baby. This would be huge, huge. Now, there's a new bill in Congress that would get rid of all income taxes, including capital gains taxes, and replace it with a national 30% sales tax. That's also known as like a flat tax. I'm actually for that. 100%. The only way you pay a tax is if you go out there and purchase something. I'm okay with that. You're going to keep 30% more of your money. Not a bad gig when you start to look at it like that in that perspective. All right. How we doing here? I actually have to get something. So I'm in the Rumble Creator Program, and so they have these things that you have to do every month, and hence why we do all the ads and stuff. But I want to go out there, and I want to find – I think I know what we can do. I guarantee you he is live right now. Hold on a second. I got to find something real quick. What? Oh. We'll just go here. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Okay, I got it. There we go. All right. I just wanted to get that ready. We'll get this guy ready. Appreciate you guys, and thank you for listening. We got a lot of stuff that's going to be happening this week. D5 coming up. So it's going to be incredibly crazy, incredibly interesting to see what happens next in the span of all things. I'm going to leave you with one of these songs that I wrote called Armor of God. I hope you enjoy it. And the links for that are actually down here, redpillsmusic.com, if you want to check that out. I appreciate you guys more than you know. And all of our links, some ways you can support us. GOODBRU, who Gabe we just had on earlier, that link is also scrolling down here, goodbrew.com/redpill. Appreciate you guys. Much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. I'm going to leave you with the armor of God. So please like and share these videos. They're on our YouTube. They're on our YouTube, as well as redpillsmusic.com if you want to check it out. But we'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Stand strong. The day is here. The battle's near. Put on the armor. Yeah. Belt the truth around my waist. Feet of peace, I take my place. Bracelet shining righteousness. Shield of faith, no fear, no death. Helmet of salvation, crown. The word of spirit cuts them down. Darkness trembles, shadows fall. I'm clothed in fire, I hear the call. Armor of God, I will not yield. Stand in the light, my sword, my shield. Against the night, against the light. The armor of God will never die. Every scheme and every snare broken by the power of prayer. Though the rulers plot in chains, the Lord of hosts still reigns, still reigns. In the silence, in the flame, I march in strength, I call his name. Principalities bow low, the battle ends, the truth will show. Armor of God, I will not yield. Stand in the light, my sword, my shield. Against the night, against the light. The armor of God will never die. I stand against the powers, against the rulers of this age. I stand against the darkness and every spirit in its cage. I will not fear, I will not fall. The armor of God surrounds it all. Armor of God, I will not yield. Stand in the light, my sword, my shield. Against the night, against the light. The armor of God will never die. Stand strong. Stand Armor of God.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented.
It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!